Hello, everybody. This is Leo Brady, film critic with AMovieGuy.com, and I am excited to be here today with a guest who has made some really cool horror films, such as The Hallow and The Nun. And we're here today to talk about his brand new, exciting, awesome horror film, Whistle. This is director Corin Hardy.
Hey,
Corin, thanks for being with me.
thank you for having me. Sorry, I'm in my hotel room and it doesn't look as interesting as my home
Hey,
studio, but
y-
you know.
yeah, no, I get it. So we start this show with the same first question every time, and for you, it might be a unique answer. I'm excited to hear what you say. So the
Go on.
question is, what's the movie for you that you saw that made you say, "Oh yeah, I want to be a director. I want to do that."
So many films.
It might be tough.
I mean, I'll say a couple really quickly. I mean, I think when I saw King Kong age 6, it blew my mind into the world of like the mystery and the illusion of what was there. And that followed a load of Ray Harryhausen monster movies. And then when
Yeah,
I was sort of about 9, 10, I saw movies like Alien, like Salem's Lot. They terrified me. And then I think when I was about 11 or 12, I saw Evil Dead 2. And that's probably the movie that exploded my mind and
yeah,
made that really at that time, me and my group of friends at school were sort of starting to watch horror, wanting to be sort of monster makers and filmmakers, and started making our own Super 8 films. And when we saw Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2, it was kind of like, oh my God, this film has got so much going on in it. It's so exciting, it's scary, it's outrageous, it's gory, it's funny, it's non-stop, it was like plugged into our brains. So, along with Nightmare on Elm Street and The Thing and the yeah, it was all of them.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and as you said, it was pretty much there with you from the beginning. I mean, you talk, it's very much noted on your biography about how, like, when you were 12, you got a Super 8 camera and you just like went out with your buddies. I mean, that's a very Spielberg thing. That's like doing it from the beginning. I mean, how did, well, first of all, who got you that Super 8 camera? How did that like even begin
That,
to just become your
so
thing?
it wasn't mine. The Super 8 was my good friends Mike and Joe, who were brothers. Joe at the time was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
Mike was 11. Me and Dave were 11, 12. And we're still close friends right to this day. And we were in a band together. And we were all mutually sort of just, that's how we spent our spare time. We would get together at the weekends and in summer holidays. And initially it was Super 8, where we would pull together our paper round money and we would get to sort of like all spend like £5 or £10, put into a pot, and we would get some reels of Super 8, film them, and then screen them back to ourselves and our families. And we'd have like a
Wow.
slow motion button on the projector. And then one day the Ferguson Video Star, which was the VHS video recorder, came out, which we were able to book for a weekend, and
Yeah.
that would shoot like half an hour long tapes. So our movies kind of like expanded into much more not as good in but like they were
Yeah.
basically an excuse to make as much gore and monsters initially happen. And the acting and storylines weren't, very accomplished.
Well, that stuff all comes later. I mean, so your first film's The Hollow, which is a very like independent film, kind of like folk horror type of movie, and then you follow that up with The Nun. For you, what was like, we'll get to The Whistle, but like, what was that transition of going for something that's a little bit more independent? You were probably used to that, making it on a shoestring budget, to
Yeah,
going to making The Nun, which has a studio behind it and a little bit
yeah.
more backing. Was that difficult for you, or was that a little bit just one or the other? Didn't
I
matter.
suppose honestly, every film is different, but they're all films and they all involve the same processes ultimately, just
Yeah.
in different ways. And I had spent, almost a lifetime leading up to getting to make The Hallow. Before The Hallow, I'd done a number of my own music videos. Then I made a short stop motion animation called Butterfly, which took me 5 years to make. That was sort of on my own in my workshop.
Yeah.
then I did 10 years of music videos, making about 50 different music videos, telling lots of sort of different techniques and working with actors and things. So by the time I actually made The Hallow, it was it was suddenly this is really happening. We're really making my first feature film and doing it independently and doing it as inventively as we could. So when I got to make The Nun, it was different in that because it was a studio movie, it's kind of like it's already happening. You're hired as a director and suddenly you're making it. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I had 8 years of prep to make The Nun. It was like 14 weeks and we were making it, but it was like still all of the previous, ever since I was probably like making those films at age 12,
Yeah.
it sort of prepares you for it in some way, and you just have to kind of grab it by the horns and go for it. So, in a lot of ways, it was the same. It was just a different process of different people. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, look, let's talk about Whistle. I mean, this is an excellent horror film. I mean, it
thank
feels
you.
like you're combining all of your sort of expertise in
Yeah.
this one. Tell me how the project got to you with Owen Egerton and what made you say, yeah, this is
Yeah.
right my jam.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it came at a time when I was sort of working out my next move and my next films, and I'd just done 4 years on a show called Gangs of London, which was a TV show that I ended up getting very involved in, and that was an action kind of crime show. So I did a lot of elaborate action sequences and choreography.
yeah,
So and then the strikes happened. You remember the writers' strike and the actors' strike, and that happened just as I was reading the Whistle script
yeah,
and a lot of projects were suddenly getting put on hold and not happening. And Whistle, because it was a Canadian-Irish co-production, was one that could actually go ahead.
yeah,
And I'd read Owen's script, and I was taken by the simple, effective, elegant, scary mythology of an ancient cursed artifact. This death whistle.
yeah,
When you blew it, when you heard it scream, if you were unlucky enough to hear the sound it makes, it will call your future death to hunt you down early.
yeah,
It was a simple kind of when you're looking, you're a horror filmmaker and you're looking for projects or reading other people's scripts, and you come across one which feels like a really smart, simple idea. It's if you get affected by it, it probably means it's going to work. So
right.
I loved that, but I also loved this sort of emotional undercurrent that Owen had written in it. This sort of slightly tragic love story that's grounded between Chris, played by Daphne Keane, and Ellie by Sophie Nélisse, and this idea that Chris is in this very dark place at the beginning of the movie because she's suffering from her own grief, and she's going to almost like find love at the time when there's the maximum horror is surrounding her, and it's going to
Yeah,
almost get her through. So I really that appeals to me, horror with heart.
yeah,
And then the last thing was the deaths, the elaborate, inventive, imaginative, outrageous death sequences, which as again, there's going to be death in a horror movie, there has to
yeah,
be. And this whole concept of this mythology surrounds death, not just in a quite outrageous way, but in a deep way as well. It's to do with memento mori, which means remember that you will die, and this
yeah.
idea of fighting to live. So yeah, it was those factors that came together for me when I read it, and then I set upon trying to create those deaths.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question before I have to let you go. Daphne Keene and Sophie Nielsen, both of them, yeah, Nels, both great actors, both like doing it since they were kids. How, bringing the two of them on, working with them, what was that like? I mean, it has to be easy because they've been doing it since they were, since they
Yeah.
were kids.
Yeah, well, it was a great experience making it was the ensemble actually. It was Daphne and Sophie, and then it was Sky Yang, Jaleel Swaby, and Ali Scobie, and Percy Hines White, and Nick Frost, and it was sort of bringing them all together in a
Yeah.
Breakfast Club like way. I showed them all the Lost Boys as a sort of reference for the kind of energy we were going for in a movie where you had this sort of teenage heartbreak and emotions and high school and the sort of banter and so
Yeah.
to have Daphne and Sophie, they didn't know each other before Whistle, but they immediately in my office when I got them together to meet each other, you don't know whether they're gonna hit it off, but they did, and they became close friends, all of them. became good friends, and I actually organised the a way to sort of get everyone to sort of bond. I organised an escape room on the weekend before the shoot, so we all went to an escape room together. And I said, "Look, can you do this in your characters? Do it as your characters. I'll play a version of a Mr. Craven school teacher." And it was a chance for them to really play and not have to stick to any lines, but just feel it out. And then it meant when we started shooting, they were sort of in their characters. So it was a real ride, and they're a great
Uh,
team.
I love to hear that. Well, so they're telling me to wrap up. Corin Hardy, thank you so much for being with me here today. Whistle is playing in theaters Friday, February 6th. We can't wait for everybody. I think the horror community is going to be so excited to see this movie.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much. Hope you all enjoy it.
Yes, take
Don't
care.
blow it.
Yeah.